Hello and welcome to the Cultivating Calmness Podcast. I'm curious, what is the story that you often find yourself telling yourself about the world around you, about your life, about the way you react to different situations in your life? What I want to talk about today is our negative core beliefs, the negative cognitions or thoughts that we have about ourselves and the world around us. And oftentimes those are things that are created over time and not necessarily always happen because of one particular situation, although that is possible. When I work with my clients, I often see these negative beliefs form what maybe started from a singular event, but then were reinforced and built upon over time. And what got me thinking about this was actually a video that I saw just yesterday, and I thought that it would be good to talk about. So this video is by Peter Crone. He's called The Mind Architect. And I looked into him a little bit because I hadn't actually seen any videos from him, or if I had, I didn't remember. And I have since watched numerous videos, and so I'll be definitely giving him a follow, and you probably should too. But I'm going to talk a little bit about this video that I saw, then I'll show you the clip that I'm talking about, and then I'll jump back in and we will talk a little bit more, not specifically what the video is about, but something I personally am taking away from the video and what I want to focus on. So Peter Crone, I guess, is considered a thought leader in human potential and performance, and does a lot of motivational type speaking and talking and helping athletes and other people to find a better place and to kind of get to that root of what maybe is holding them back. So this particular video I saw was, he must have been at some kind of event, and he was talking to a woman who had two dogs that she was afraid of their impending death. They were older dogs, so she was preparing for their ultimate death, and that was really scary for her. And what it came down to in the end, yes, it was this particular video was focused on the dogs and her grief about losing the dogs and the role that they play in her life. Well, I felt like this video could be relatable to anybody. It didn't have to be for pet lovers. That's what the video was geared towards, was pet lovers. But it was something that he said in particular. And I want you to listen to this clip. So this whole clip is about 5 minutes long. But the particular part that I'm going to hone in on and focus on happened around the 2-minute, 45-second mark. And we're going to give that a listen now, and we will talk about it.
I am currently on a celebration of life road trip with my senior dogs.
You're showing them around America or something, or?
You're making the story longer. Okay. They have been a huge part of my identity for a long time. So they've been with me for almost half of my life. They opened up every possible door for me, including being able to love. I basically walked through life feeling like I couldn't. They're now getting older, and I'm trying to reconcile with their time is coming to an end. It's grief is the underlying feeling.
Yeah.
Tied to fear.
Yes.
Who am I without them?
Got it. You've collapsed grief with your dogs. What's the real grief?
I'll be walking through life alone again without them.
You've lived with your dogs for half of your life. So the illusion you've been living in is what?
I need them to be happy.
Yeah. What did you say about your parents? You said that you weren't not wanted.
I wasn't wanted.
And what do your dogs provide you?
Unconditional love.
Yeah. I get it. You're such a sweetheart. You have no idea what's about to happen for you. And I am so sorry for whatever you went through, and we don't need to go through the details. I got it. I really got what your life must have been like. But you think that you're grieving the potential soon-to-be passing of your dogs. Because they represent what to you?
Everything.
Yeah, but specifically?
Love.
Love. You've got your love collapsed in these two canines. What's it like to walk around as a kid feeling that you're not wanted?
Lonely.
Pretty sad.
Yeah.
That might be the tears that you're experiencing.
Yep.
Because they never were expressed, and you just found the comfort, which is beautiful, and it's a coping strategy, and I'm sure those dogs are so grateful for the amount of love that pours out of your veins towards them. Like you're taking them on a fucking road trip, you know? Most parents don't even do that for their kids.
The other context to that is that one of them was diagnosed with kidney disease a year ago, and they're not supposed to live past a year, but she did. So I'm basically doing hospice on the road. So it's sort of an everyday in my face.
Of course you are. They're your literal lifeline.
Yeah.
Listen, we attract the things we need to sustain the stories that we're within. It's so LA, isn't it? Oh my God, oof. So what is actually going to be grieved in their passing? What do they represent?
They represent probably the most informative chapters of my life. People have left.
Yeah.
I've had disappointment.
Yeah.
And they've always been there.
Yes. If you live in the world that you're not wanted, you have to have people leave you and certainly reject you. Mm-hmm. Does everyone understand that? Like, there's no coincidence in the way that your life shows up based on the way that you view life. If I pick up a red pen, I'm not going to get disappointed if it doesn't write in blue. It's pretty obvious. Like, we think we live on planet Earth. No, you all live in a world in here, the space that is the mind, and the world that you live in, based on this story that you assimilated, heard, believed, is that you're not wanted. And so you found, because we have to survive, the primordial imperative of any mammal is to make it, and particularly in the arena of love and acceptance, you found your care providers in the form of Maya, Ava, and Pittsburgh. God bless them, right? But what has the world missed out on? You are love, my dear. Your animals are the beneficiaries of that. But there's a world of 8 billion people out there who could just so benefit from some of you. And we get to be the beneficiaries of the things we share, particularly if it's love. You literally are love personified. It's just become so focal because the way that you survived is this is where I feel
safe,
wanted,
loved.
accepted. And if I look through the lens of I'm not wanted, then nobody else can provide that. This is why there's so much significance about their potential passing or their pending passing. Because when they're gone, you're left with the very thing that you used as a mechanism to draw them in, which is who you are is
not wanted.
Not wanted. That's what you're sad about. Is it true that who you are as a vibrational, timeless, boundless, limitless being is not wanted?
It is not.
So if you weren't living in this confining, suffocating prison called I'm not wanted, how might you feel in the world?
More capable, more vibrant, full of love.
I don't know, they sound pretty good off the bat.
Yeah.
And I'm not diminishing the connection you have with your dogs. I'm sure it's beautiful and you've had all this fun and I hope you have an epic journey wherever you're going. But it's not over there with them. That's the lie. Where are they, by the way?
They are at a very stylish Spanish studio, Airbnb.
You're actually getting massages as we speak. I love my dog. He died. And I cried and it was beautiful. But it wasn't because he represented a world that wasn't available to me in his absence. You're suffering because you're suffocating your own love. So my invitation to you is, yes, enjoy your trip. Love on these animals as much as you can. But maybe start to share some of that with other people. The world just got more loving.
Okay, so the part that you heard in there, and I'm going to repeat some of that, and we're going to talk a little bit about what that kind of means to me and why I think that that is an important thing to talk about. So he says, there's no coincidence in the way your life shows up based on the way that you view life. And then he used the example of the red pen. If you have a red pen, you won't be disappointed if it doesn't write blue, because you have a red pen, you expect it to write red, you know what to expect, okay? Then he goes on to say that you think you live here on earth, which you physically live here on earth, but you live in a world that is created in your brain, right, in your mind up here. And the world that you live in is based on the story that you believe and that you've heard, talk to you, and that you have then assimilated into your life, and which for this person in the video was that she was unwanted, right? That brings up for me the idea of those negative core beliefs that I talked about in the beginning, right? Negative core beliefs, there's all kinds of negative beliefs, and they're usually they fall into several different categories, you would say. One of responsibility, one of safety or vulnerability, and one of control. And there may be some other categories, but those are some of the primary categories that your negative beliefs fall into. And those are the traps that we fall into in our lives. Those are the things that trigger us, that bring up negative responses in ourselves, and maybe where we find we have a lack of control in the way we respond, in the way we do things, in the way we think even. So some of those, you've probably heard of them. You maybe have even thought of them yourself. For example, I'm not good enough. I'm a bad person. I'm unlovable. I'm unwanted. I should have done something. I should have done something differently. I'm a bad mother. I can't be trusted. I can't trust myself. I cannot protect myself. I can't get it out. I am weak. I'm powerless. I cannot succeed. I'm a failure. I'm stupid. All of these are negative beliefs that we hold to be true because we believe them. But we didn't always believe them, right? At some point, something in your life changed that. So for some, that could be a simple, I failed a test, right? And maybe that was really traumatic for you. I can remember the very first time I failed a test. I was in 4th grade, and I got an F on a test. I'd never, ever gotten an F on a test before that. I don't even know if I had had a C on a test before that. And so I spent the entire day crying and crying and crying and crying and crying and crying. And at the time, I was going to my aunt's house after school, and we would do homework. And, she, I think she had tried to help me and to realize, like, hey, it's not a big deal. Now, grades were important. They wanted my family, my aunt, they wanted me to succeed. And I was getting super upset that I failed this test because in my mind, right, like, they're going to be mad at me. I'm going to be in trouble. Something along those lines is what I think that I was thinking at the time. And so that likely had an effect on my grades, moving forward. Although for me, it was probably deeper than that. I wanted to do well and I wanted to succeed, and I didn't get bad grades often, and that's why that particular one really stands out to me. But for me, I don't particularly think that there's any lasting effect to that. But for some people, because everyone is unique, that event may have led to a internal belief of I am stupid or I'm not good enough, and that carries on and into the way that you think and the way that you feel about other situations in your life. So I guess what I mean by that is it kind of links into just the way you think when we think negatively in general. If you are supposed to go to a party, but you're not looking forward to it and your parents are making you go, and you're like, this is going to suck, this party, I don't want to go, it's going to be so stupid, it's going to be so boring, etc. Are you going to have any fun at the party? Most of the time, the response that I get is probably not. It is possible. It's possible something could happen and you could perk right up and have fun and everything will be great. But what is more likely to happen is that your thought that this party is stupid, right, is going to cause you to behave in a certain way when you get to the party. What does that mean? I don't know, maybe you kind of are the wallflower, you hold up the wall, you see other people hanging out and talking over there, but you're not necessarily going to go out of your way to go talk to those people over there. You may, if somebody calls you over, maybe you just kind of are quiet. If there are events or things that you could do, you may be psyching yourself out and be like, that's not really going to be that fun. They don't want me to play. They don't want me to do anything. I don't even want to be here. This is so stupid. Ugh, look at them. That game looks really dumb. Right? So you may then just engage in negative talk to prevent yourself then from having fun. Whereas if you were to go into it with a more positive outlook and a more positive view of yourself or the party, like, well, my parents are making me go, I'm going to try to make the best out of it that I can, then you may be more likely to go into it and feel better about it, right? You may give it a try. It's not saying you wouldn't hang out along the wall, but if somebody were to come and ask you to do something, you may be like, what can it hurt, right? I have to be here. I may as well try to have some fun. It's another more positive way of looking at something, right? And before you know it, maybe you do actually have a good time. And that's going to shape the way you think about parties, the way you think about life, the way you think about taking your parents up on something the next time, because I was willing to give it a chance and I thought it was going to be terrible, and it actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was. The same thing happens with the way we interpret our lives based on a belief that we have. For example, I'm not good enough. I see that one a lot. Many people have that belief, and it comes from all different directions and all kinds of reasons. And it doesn't just attack one area of your life, it attacks all areas of your life. So if I deep down in myself believe that I'm not a good person, or I'm not good enough, then I may react a certain way to people when they talk to me with a certain tone, or when I maybe feel like they're being critical of something that I've done or something that I've said. I may snap at them and I may react, because to me that signals something in me that I'm not good enough. Therefore, you think I'm not good enough. Therefore, I have to be on the defensive. And so you can be a pretty defensive person. It could look something completely different. Like, I don't think I'm good enough, so I don't try very hard. I don't reach my potential. I don't study hard because, what does it matter? I'm not good enough anyway. I'm never going to get that. I'm never going to get that grade. I'm never going to get that job. I'm never going to fill in the blank. So you don't try. You don't try because you think it's not worth it anyway. It's never going to happen because am not a good enough person for this thing, right? Whereas if I did believe I was good enough, I would probably study for that test. I would put myself out there at the job interview. I would, promote my accolades and all the things that are good about me, because I do inherently believe that I am good enough. And so, can you see how those things start to affect your life and the way that you make decisions and the way that those decisions kind of compound on each other? And before you know it, you're this person, like in the video about the dogs, that all of her self-worth was wrapped up in these dogs. And because she felt like the dogs were the only ones that loved her, and that nobody else loved her. But she, as Peter had said in the video, she had a lot of love to give. She gave those dogs a ton of love, and she could give the people around her and, other people that could be in her life. She could give that love to other people, but she was giving it all to the dogs, which isn't bad. It's not inherently a wrong or a bad thing. That wasn't the point of the video. And the point of the video wasn't that she shouldn't grieve her dogs, who were very important to her and help her get through a very difficult time in her life. But the point was, and what I took from that video was that, there was something deeper there. It wasn't just that her dogs were dying, or would die, and it wasn't just that they would leave her behind. It was that she felt unwanted and unloved because of experiences that had happened in her past that had caused her to kind of pull inward and surround herself with things that she knew she could receive love from and that weren't going to hurt her. Because going outside of that put her at risk. It put her in a vulnerable place to be. I had to risk being unloved by somebody else, which may or may not confirm what I already believed to be true, that I am unwanted and unloved because my parents were a certain way to me. That doesn't mean that the whole rest of the world is going to be that way to you, but that is hard. And that's why we kind of come in and protect ourselves. So I utilize EMDR in my sessions, and I've been using it more and more. And I also incorporate some of the what's called IFS, internal family systems, into it. Now, I don't have a lot of specific training in IFS, but I do have some training that allows me to be more of like IFS informed. And we talk about like parts and the parts of you that feel or act a certain way because they have been maybe harmed or need to protect you from being harmed, whatever that means, whether it's physical harm, emotional harm, spiritual harm, fill in the blank. We are always trying to protect ourselves from hurt. And we do that by, creating these negative beliefs. We don't choose to create these beliefs. They kind of happen. And with EMDR, we're working to fix them, I guess is what I say. We're working to help you to find the more adaptive way of thinking. And so if you believe that I'm not good enough, we want you to believe something along the lines of I am good enough. If you believe I'm unwanted, we want you to believe that I am wanted. I do need to be here. I am appreciated. I am needed. If you feel like I am unlovable or unloved, we want you to know that you are lovable and you are loved. Now, not all of the positive beliefs are the exact opposite in wording, but we do want them to fall into the same kind of category. So we want you to believe in yourself the more positive version of that statement or a similar statement, because that's what's actually true. You aren't unlovable, and maybe it's true that some people don't love you, but that doesn't mean that everybody doesn't love you. And also, do you love yourself? If you don't love yourself, that's a pretty important thing that may make life difficult for you as well. If you don't feel like you're good enough for some people, that doesn't mean that you're not good enough for other people. And that's what EMDR can help you do, is to kind of come up with those new ways of thinking and get you to a better place so that those more positive ways of thinking get you down that domino of thinking more positively. Like with that party idea, right? I want you to go into the party thinking, hey, maybe not super looking forward to it, but I'm gonna give it a shot, and we're gonna see what could happen here, right? Versus going into the party, every situation, assuming the negative, assuming something bad about yourself, versus believing in yourself, knowing that you're capable, knowing that you're strong enough, knowing that you are loved, you are wanted. And I've seen those transitions happen in session, and it's amazing to see that and watch it happen. Sometimes it's in a short period of time. Sometimes it can happen in minutes. Sometimes it takes a whole session. Sometimes it takes multiple sessions for somebody to get from point A of I'm not good enough to point B, I am good enough. And usually that's associated with one particular memory or experience. And so we do that over and over and over again until we've built up that ability for them to see that to be true and to make those kind of thought transitions themselves. And so that they're no longer reacting maybe when somebody uses a certain tone with them or questions them in a certain way, that they're not immediately jumping on that and assuming the negative, that they assume a positive intent instead of assuming negative intent and hurt, like somebody is out to get them. So I don't know, that video that just really kind of stood out to me. I am a grief and trauma therapist, so the grief part got me, but also it was more of that negative belief aspect and just the point, the thought that the point that he made about it's the world that you live in that's based on the story that you tell yourself. All right, so I started this off by asking, what's the story you tell yourself? And the story you tell yourself are those negative beliefs. I'm not good enough. I'm unwanted. I'm stupid. And you believe it to be true. And when you believe those things to be true, you then behave and do things in a certain way. But what if you could have more adaptive beliefs and believe the opposite to be true? I am good enough. I am wanted. I am loved. What could you do then? What would your life look like then? What would the story you tell yourself be if you believed that you were good enough? Let me know what you think. If you haven't tried EMDR, give it a try. If you're in Central Ohio, I'm accepting new clients and I would love to work with you and to help you find more of those adaptations and get back to the true